I was just thinking, you got to watch out for things that drain your energy. It's almost common sense, but for some reason these things kind of creep up on us, and maybe you feel like there's certain things you can't even get out of. But I just wanted to say, like, most of the time, at least from what I noticed, when you're in low energy, you are probably not 100% the same person. And that might be common sense to say, but you know if if you have to think a lot, and if you have to, like, solve things, or if you have to do things, or if people are relying on you, or you just have things you got to do, or then you need your energy. And you gotta know what recharges you, and you kind of have to know what depletes you, and that's the mastering that right there. Just being self-aware of your energy levels, the vibes, the aura, maybe how you change in certain situations or in certain environments, certain people you're around. you know what's going to make you better? If you have a goal, what's going to help you achieve that goal? If you don't have a goal, then what's going to just make you overall feel happier or give you more energy, healthier, etc. Because sometimes when people are faced with things, whether it be an unknown situation or maybe they can't solve something, depending on the situation, it might drain your energy. And then in certain situations, you might get more energy so you can try to solve the problem or reach the goal. But from what I noticed, from most people, they try to avoid the things that they don't know, or that they feel like they might not be able to solve. And I see more of a trend in this as people get older. As a kid, I would think that most of the time kids are kind of curious. And, there's even times where obviously kids can get discouraged by not knowing something, and not wanting to challenge what they don't know. But I see, especially as an adult, adults feel more pressure. They feel more embarrassed sometimes. Not all the time, depends on the person, but for the most part, it seems, from what I've noticed, adults feel more pressured, and they get more embarrassed if they don't know something, especially if most people know it and they don't. They feel pressure, right? And this is why some people like to stick to what they know, and in some ways, it's understandable. Some people might be in a situation where they just cannot. They don't have too much time to take a risk on something. They have to do what they have to do, get what they have to get. But some of the things I was thinking about was like certain things I'm thinking about now. We've probably all been there, but it's like some of the things I'm thinking about now Why wasn't I acting on these things before, like years ago? Now, obviously, it's because there's a lot of risk involved. And who knows? Maybe I did think about it and I just got it out of my mind because I'm like, you know what? I got this going, I got that going, you know, and this other thing's too risky. Let me stick to what's working, whatever, until it's not working. And there's nothing saying that what you're thinking of now that you think that you should have done earlier. It's nothing saying that that's going to work now. So it's a risk, and it's hard to do a risk analysis when it's all thought and theory, right? It's like it gets real when you actually do it, when you actually start to do it. It's like it's one thing to talk about moving or changing or whatever, and then there's another thing to actually, you know, buy the ticket or, leave or engage. It's a whole different story. And, it's hard to tell. You try to do what you feel comfortable with because it makes no sense if you push yourself too hard or take so much of a risk that you know, you get so you get so flustered that it becomes counterproductive because you took too much of a risk, too much of the unknown. So you try to have something of substance. You try to have something solid to go off of. And most of the time it starts with a feeling. Like I want to do that. I want that. And that's the thing about it. You don't know unless you do. But for most people, they don't know until they actually do it, right? If you want something you never had before, or if you have a theory that you never fully executed on, then you really don't know, right? You do your best to try to figure out the outcomes and say, okay, is it worth it? And one of the best ways I can think of to kind of gauge it is you kind of tell yourself like, well, if the worst come to worst, or if the worst happens, is it worth it, right? Like if I go somewhere or if I do something and it doesn't work out, how would I handle that? Can I deal with that? Is it worth trading in what I'm doing now? And if you can't come up with an answer, doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, but it just means that you got to be ready for whatever. That's what it means, right? Especially if the thought keeps coming back up in your head, whatever it is, whatever it could be, big, small, whatever it is. Sometimes small things lead to big things. Big things leads to a lot of small things. But if you want something different, or if you want better, or if you want to change, yeah, there is that risk that things can get worse. But if you want to roll the dice on the silver lining, on things getting better, then that's cool too. And of course, if you want to increase your chance of success, then you try to put yourself through some type of training or simulation of what you want to do. Obviously, nothing's like the real thing, but some people say, just do it, right? That famous saying, just do it. But you got to use your head, especially if you don't have the backup. If you know you're on your own, you gotta use your head, because you don't want to be regretful for doing it, and you don't want to be regretful for not doing it. And that's kind of what life is at, right? But I would say that a lot of the people who supposedly keep being successful, those are the people who usually try to figure out who they are, calculate the risk, and then they try to bring in friends and go for it.